roll call of committee, we have Casey, we have Gary, we have Pat, we have Sharon, and we have David.
Yep.
Ann emailed me, she cannot attend. Non-members are myself, Mario, Fiona, and Ellen. Yeah. Okay. Approval of the agenda, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion. Second.
Okay. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we have no minutes. Public portion, members of the public and staff may bring to the committee's attention information, ideas, or matters of concern related to all the duties and responsibilities of this committee. This committee will not allow comments regarding specific staff members or personal grievances. The time for individual remarks will be apportioned according to the number of speakers and will be limited to 5 minutes per speaker unless extended by the chair. Any public? No, no public today? Okay. Discussion and action on recommendation to city council. So last time we had that discussion and Mario and I spoke to Joe and Chris. So you want to fill them in or?
Yeah, basically, we were attempting, apparently for the first time ever,
Yeah.
A blended approach to awarding packages. But Joe got down and in more detail told us that really the union represents a vast majority of all the packages, and they can't really tell one package they're in and one package they're out. If I'm saying that correctly, pretty much, right? So, their position is they want all the packages. They have presented a very good package to us as far as the apprenticeships are for the next 10 years, and they're willing to stand behind that. And that and the fact that you're going to need the manpower on a job this size is one reason why I personally, speaking for myself as a non-voter here, but I am looking for a PLA agreement myself.
Is that, and maybe Joe, this is a question for you. Is that an improvement over the original letter? Were we talking about apprenticeships through 2027 previously?
No, 2031.
But wasn't it previously 2027? Now
No, it was
you've
always
improved
10
it?
years. It was always 10 years.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, are you okay with that?
Yeah.
So what we did is we're gonna come up into the schools 4 times a year. That was the additional proposal.
They come up once for the career fair
Okay,
and 3 times a year to take 12 to 15 kids out for apprenticeships.
I think there was a discussion in one meeting, like, we thought it was gonna be 5 years, and Ed said that's not enough. And I said, we agree. I think that was.
yeah, I think in the last
maybe-
letter.
I'm not sure Joe had said that.
I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Did you have the previous letter? Didn't it talk about doing, committing to holding that's career fairs, I guess, through 2027?
No, it was always
Am I
10
mistaken?
years. It was always
Okay,
10 years.
well, okay, thanks.
Yeah, well, it could have been, but then we changed it.
Yeah.
Okay,
You were right. Correct.
okay,
Sorry.
so that was,
Right.
so it's an improvement over what we were talking about before anyway, okay.
Yeah, one more thing, though. Also, can we confirm that this is Torrington High School students and not high school in Wilka Tech?
It was listed as Torrington High School, but also, I think we added one thing about if a resident wanted to come to the career fair, they could come.
Yeah,
So,
So if they were going to Wilka Tech, they could come.
Yeah.
if they're a resident.
Or some
Or some other.
Right.
Right,
Right,
Go-
right.
as long as they're a
go out of
resident.
city.
They could
Correct,
come to the
correct.
career
Right,
fair would be.
right. All
If they're a
across,
resident.
Yeah.
Right.
Ellen?
I just want clarification. You're the chair, correct?
No,
You're the chair of this
Of the
committee.
building
of the
committee.
building committee, but we are
Yeah, there's some
not,
confusion about
yeah,
that.
there's a confusion about that. It's, we just are
Facilitating.
facilitating this because it was 3 members of the building committee and 3 members of city council. So we cannot vote on this,
According to what the attorney told
attorney
you.
says.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
So we don't have a chair. We have 6 chairs.
yeah, 6 chairs. We're just facilitating.
Right, and it's a recommendation, one way or another.
It has to go to city council.
Right.
So that in these minutes, and you're not the chair.
Correct.
Where is
There's
it?
no chair
Yeah, we didn't look at the minutes.
for the
Yeah.
public, not the
Okay.
minutes, the agenda for the public participation. There's no chair, actually, right?
Oh, extended, unless extended by the chair, and we don't have a chair, so,
Right.
Right, correct.
okay, understood.
Acting chair for calling the
I'm just
meeting.
trying
to
to clarify, that's all. So
Yeah.
it's,
Yep, makes sense.
order. He called the meeting to order, so he could be the acting
Yeah.
chair.
Sure.
Just,
I like facilitator.
just.
He could
so-
put
so-
actor.
Give him whatever
Good
title he
actor.
wants.
No, I don't want any title. I'm occupant,
There you
usually.
go.
He's a good actor, though.
There you go.
Well, I think my take is if there was a tie, I would still prefer that one of the co-chairs, which is what we called it,
Break the tie.
break the tie. Because there is, I mean, who, the board, we talked about this at one of the Board of Ed meetings yesterday. I checked with Jess Ritter, she didn't think that was the case. And I said, I don't want to be, and it's silly, because city council is gonna vote anyway.
Right, right.
But at the same time, if our co-chair, one of our co-chairs, and three others believe PLA is the way, then the city council should know that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that would
Maybe
be
that's
a
the way to handle
positive.
it.
I think that's
Otherwise,
the way we thought about it.
I mean, you can't vote, but maybe if you, I mean, that's fair. I mean, I'm obviously.
that would be our recommendation, not the vote, not the
I
vote.
mean, it
but
can be presented, and then if there's somebody else's recommendations, we could probably add that to it, but it's gonna be what we bring to the council.
Want to go down and get that?
No, no, we're not expecting anybody else.
No, it's
Yeah, I
open.
know. It goes
Oh,
into.
okay.
Yeah, it
But-
goes in.
So I
It is
agree,
open
I
to
mean, I'll
the
go
public.
attached to Mario's conversation. I don't think the understanding was at the first meeting that we had, to the extent to which non-PLA is not qualified to do this work. And I don't think a lot of work was done on, nothing about Ed, I'm talking about just in explaining, given the size of this project and the unavailability of subcontractors in the state, qualified to do this work, in my professional opinion, actually hurts the project more than it helps it. Historically, and from a data standpoint, there's no difference between numbers. And the list that we talked about last time, Ed had gotten, I think, from the ABC about some of the subs. I mean, even the steel contractors that the ABC proposed.
No, these were my list.
Oh, your list.
From
I thought
previous jobs.
it
Four
was
jobs.
ABC's list.
No, I don't know what their list is. My list was 4 jobs that were done in Connecticut in the last 6 months.
So that makes it even worse because we've asked ABC for a list of stubs. They couldn't provide a single one. They brought Ferguson.
Yes,
And
that's true.
I'll go through our family in 70 years doing this kind of stuff. There's nobody in Connecticut that's qualified to do this work with the labor force in any trade that I know of.
On the open side.
And because we sold to the city, to the voters, the number of local jobs, it was 33,000 more people that went for this based on, Mario, especially Mario and Ed, their education to the public about this job. We promised this would be a Torrington job by Connecticut-based, hopefully, subcontractors.
To that point, information received from Joe is there's 200 union members in the trades that live in Torrington. And I don't think it's a reach to say if we go on the open side, since there's no Torrington companies that are gonna bid it,
Mhm.
there's not gonna be many Torrington people at all.
Yep.
Unless some guy works for a company out of Plainville or Hartford or something.
Mhm.
So just a direct impact to Torrington residents who's gonna buy a house, who's gonna go out to, to the restaurants, who's gonna buy food in the grocery stores, who lives in this town, who pays taxes.
Sending kids to school.
Sending kids to school, there's 200 people on the union side.
Never mind the quality of work.
And the quality of work,
There's not a single electrician in this state, other than one that went bankrupt and he ended up in jail, that, number one, could do this job, but number two, that has a crew that's experienced in a building that we're gonna have 100,000 square feet, let's say, at a time, of steel being erected and open to subs to run through the building and wire it, to plumb it, to HVAC it, to fire stop it, to erect it, to pour the concrete. And if there's not a historical price difference, overall, why would we go, it's like hiring it's like hiring me to build your house when you can have Burlington build your house. I mean,
Right.
See, I'm just worried.
this isn't about you, trust me.
No, I'm just worried because my analysis is there's some packages, they can't give us five or four contractors.
Right, but I'll go through, let's talk about your list. For instance, electricians.
Electricians, that's a good point.
All right, so
Out of 4 jobs,
Right.
they had one electrician, 2 electricians, 3
no,
electricians.
I'm talking about the guys that you put on the list.
Custom Electric, Dyson Electric, Paul Tinto, Consolidated, and Ducey Electric.
And these are
That's on the
all,
union side.
that was on the union side.
Union side.
And these were all bidders.
Bidders, but only one bidder on one
Yeah.
project, one bidder on another project, 2 bidders on another project, 3 bidders on another project.
Right.
That's all I'm worried about.
But let me-
I don't want to get one bidder on a
Oh, okay.
$10 million.
12,
If you
Well, let
break
me,
it up.
let me.
$10 million
can I just-
electric.
Yeah.
Can I
Right.
just finish my statement though,
I
Ed?
see what you mean.
Let's talk about the electrical. You got Camstand on there. They do houses. I mean, it depends on what they worked on. If you got East Side Electric would love to bid if it's a $40 million renovation, they'd bid all day and night. They got the crews to establish and work on a job like that. Renovations are much easier to staff with non-union than with union, for instance, or even a 30,000, 40,000 square foot building. Borghese could bid that job. But we're talking about almost 300,000
Yeah.
square feet. And we know, and O&G is still not, has not said that you're not right, Gary. There's nobody to bid these jobs from Connecticut. So we know that nobody's qualified to bid in Connecticut, other than they can get a bond. If O&G is going to use that as a level of comfort, that's crazy in my opinion, because anybody can get a bond. I can get a bond for about $10 million. I would never do it. And I certainly wouldn't trust me to get a bond for $10 million. But,
I wouldn't either.
right.
I think we have an agreement on that.
But we need people qualified. I mean, this is, as Mario says, this is your swan song. And it's everybody's, we all want that, but we also
I
want.
would like to ask a couple of questions, and sorry, Gary, but
Okay.
I did hear what you were saying last time, and I tend to agree with you. I was looking at PLA versus non-union and trying to do it on a practical basis. I mean, we promised the taxpayers we would spend this. They voted for this. The building supposedly looks like this. That's what the taxpayers were promised. Already I'm seeing in the newspaper, we're talking about maybe changing the auditorium or something. So that's changing the building. We still got the money. Maybe it's gonna save us money, maybe it's not. What I was looking at from the union perspective is that it's much larger. They are more likely to have experience building larger facilities, which means they are more likely, if there is a glitch, to be able to find solutions that are going to be less costly than having a crew of people who have not had that experience and maybe would cost us more. I don't know. That's just in my head. The union workers, they have dedication to the job. Their benefits rely on their ability to do their job well. They're local taxpayers, parents often. Non-union, those guys are great. We employed non-union people for Torrington Downtown Partners. We have 10 buildings. I understand their ability. They're really nice people. They're trained, the journeymen are trained. Their helpers are not always. We had some glitches with some people who were not as qualified and said, this will be okay. Don't worry about it. Often it's without benefits and maybe not as much dedication to see the completion because of their dedication to the job and wanting to have a job that shows well for them and as their career. I also want to know where, as you said, the local contractors are that can do this job. We have a lot of work that's expected to be there. I wasn't hearing anything from the non-union people that said this was making me feel confident. I also know that union workers are more highly trained. We had to pay for training for a couple of our maintenance people to be trained for asbestos removal because of the old buildings. It cost us thousands of dollars because they had to pay for that, whereas the union is going to pay for the training and make sure those people are taking the training and that are certified when they're done. So that's just a part of what I'm thinking of. So I just wanted to put that out there. The price of the building is important and it's what we promised. but there's a whole lot of detail to bringing that to fruition and pleasing the taxpayer and making them feel that they have a building to be proud of, that their children can graduate from, that will give them 21st century education, including career pathways. So,
Well, I always say, in the city council meeting, I'll say the same thing. Do we think you think the teachers union, for instance, or the police or the firemen are more cohesive and better force than us hiring non-union police officers or non-union corrections officers or the like? And again, speaking as a conservative, having studied economics in graduate school and done and reviewed studies on these kinds of things, there is no doubt that in my mind, maybe it's because I'm getting older, that the unions provide the best education ongoing relative to the non-union market. I mean, you can't find non-union trades. For instance, the list of some of those things, electrician, not one of them has a apprenticeship program, but for the guy out of Massachusetts, and it's a 4-year program at their office in Boston. So we get nothing out of the unions other than some better prices, but there's a trade-off. If we got one electrician, for instance, and it's a qualified union electrician, I'd feel far more comfortable if we don't have a comparable price, if we can compare it to market as to what ONG carried versus not. Because at least as a building committee member, I know that building is going to come out the way we wanted it to. We're going to be forced to meet the budget no matter what. And we're not going to worry about making changes to the building. I won't use the middle school as an example, but or other, the problems at the middle school by and large were because of non-union trades. Now, granted, they chose other types of materials, they chose another system, but we had a bond, but it still caused 35 years of problems. I'm a non-union guy, but if it was a $40 million building or renovation, I'd say let Borghese build, let everybody build, but there's nobody else. We're going to go to Massachusetts, we're going to go to New York, and we're going to go to New Jersey, and maybe Rhode Island, and that's who's going to come up and bid.
keep the money in the state at the very least,
I mean,
no
it's-
matter
it's
who
all-
you're paying.
It's a lot.
Well,
of
it's
It
open.
doesn't mean it's gonna be,
Yeah.
it's gonna be
The
anybody.
state, just to give you a thing with the state, when we went to the state to get everything approved, we had to put in the bid documents for a CM that it was open to Massachusetts and Rhode Island
Right, I
people.
remember.
You had to put it in, or
Well,
else.
but in
I'm
the-
just saying that
Yeah,
you had to
but-
do that.
But people don't understand is if it's a union contract, they're coming out of the union halls.
Yeah.
The union halls don't act as the company doing the work. They're the source of employees. That's the professional operation you go to grab your employees. I wouldn't go there to build my house because
You can
It's-
build it yourself.
I can build it myself, but nobody else would. And nobody should be expected to. But if you want to build, if you want the best concrete workers, the best iron workers, the best roofers, the best electricians overall, they're always, Greg Mealy is an amazing company,
Mhm.
and Greg's told me, this is crazy. You're not going to get anybody that's qualified. And I told him to talk to people. And Barry Cohen said the same thing. It's best for Torrington in my
Well, so you're saying you're not gonna get anybody, but if you open it up to everybody, you're gonna get union and non-union. You're not restrictive in any
Well,
way.
we're not getting our apprenticeship program.
Right, but you're talking about workers. So when you say you're not gonna get anybody, what are you referring to?
You're not going to get the same. Well, you're not going to get any local bidders that are qualified.
One way or the other, you're not gonna get any local bidders.
Right.
No, but,
Right.
But the
workers-
house all comes out of the
the
same hall.
work they
though.
come out of the
Yeah,
same hall.
yeah, but
That's-
you're not getting local companies. You may get local workers, but not getting local
Right.
But that
companies.
correct.
right?
But when it comes to the union hall,
Yeah, I
it
understand.
doesn't matter because the company itself gets their profit to the bottom, gets their number in the bottom line. But the employees who live in Torrington and pay their mortgages and go to work every day, they're going to spend their money in Torrington, and they are members of the Torrington community. Versus if you go to Griffin in Massachusetts, he wouldn't be able to staff it with his people fully. He'd have some of his PMs like everybody else, and then he would try to hire locally. I don't know how you can possibly vet those people as local employees because they could be coming from anywhere. They could be coming from Greg Mealy's team.
Do I understand this? So you hire locally and the union, based on the agreement that I have, I don't think it's changed, will do there's a building The building trades will include a hiring goal of 25% Torrington
Correct.
residents. So it's, number one, it's a goal.
That's
It's not
impossible.
a minimum amount. And number two, that means at least, well, 75 plus are going to be from outside Torrington. Or, obviously, could be all but a few residents of Torrington. So there's no guarantees there one way or the other.
Well, there is
As
a
far as-
guarantee
There
they're
isn't a
working.
guarantee though with local
there's-
shops as well, because
Oh, I agree.
their employees are living
Think
in
of it this way.
Arlington. or
I don't
Hampstead
disagree with
and-
that,
Think
but
of it this way.
if you're linchpin and you're hanging on the issue of Torrington residents, there's
Oh,
no
no.
guarantees one way or the other.
That's just one of the considerations.
I've done some schools like this and stuff. So what's gonna happen to the open shop guys? I went through it myself.
You say, yes. please.
We know we made $500,000 on the previous job. Then we went and did the Chaplain Elementary School, and we used subs. And we had 14 guys. It required 50. We had subs. We had subs of subs. We have subs of subs of subs.
Happens every day.
They came, they went. We lost our shirt. Matter of fact, the company went out of business. Lost our shirt. Everything we made plus some. So the smaller open shops, and they are smaller. If you went through that whole list, I did the same thing Gary did. Just a quick cursory view. And you got a guy who says he'll do carpentry in a $50 million school, and then he's also pricing decks in Westport. You got guys doing concrete steps, and you got guys who said, well, we'll do your sidewalks at your $159 million school. There's just, you're going to get a vast array of open shop people. You're going to get more bidders.
I don't
You're
think
gonna get a vast array of open shop and bidders. Granted, I'll defer to you on that point, but we have O&G, which we all agree is a construction manager. Are they a construction manager at risk?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So O&G is.
Now, I know.
has already stated that they are experienced. Obviously, they've done how many projects? We all looked at their presentation. And all their jobs, as far as I know, were all on schedule within budget.
Oh, sure.
And,
Well, no,
with
that's not
PLA,
necessarily true. The budget, schedules change. You really can't make that determination.
okay, what, I was very impressed with whatever
They're the
summaries
best
they
there is.
presented.
They're the best there
Okay,
is.
and not the best
Very
there
union
is.
shop.
And they've already told us that they are familiar with all these contractors, union and non-union, and they know these individuals or these companies, and they're gonna vet each one of these bidders.
Well, that's not.
So
what
you
you-
might have the guy building the porch in the backyard, but that's not gonna pass muster with O&G.
Well, no. O&G made it very clear. If they got the bond, we can't refuse them. Now, again, you have to be a
I
multi-million dollar
don't
company.
think they said that, but
Well, he did. He said at the last meeting, and he said at the time before. I said, "Tell me
I don't remember that.
how you rule them out."
I just don't
All right. Well,
remember.
Ed's done it before. Ed knows the process. Ferguson Electric comes in tomorrow. I'm picking on them because they're the easy one to pick on. Because they're the only people that
we're
O&G
gonna put a little
says.
asterisk next to their name.
Well, it's the only guy that O&G says could bid it. But what do they say to me? Well, they're bondable. We don't have a choice if they're low.
That they can bid, not that they're gonna be selected.
No.
Oh,
No,
they'll
no.
select them.
No, they'll select them.
Yeah.
They'll select them. They just selected them on another job, he told me, because they were low bidder and they're bondable. You have to have and what Ferguson will do, if you don't give them the job, you will be in court the next day. They will shut the job down. They've shut job downs for a year or more. So, you're a lawyer. You know how things work.
But it also happens on the PLA. Okay, I'm just saying, I just want to, whatever it is, keep it honest.
There's
There
no
I-
guarantees
I-
with
I-
are
anything.
two big contractors that are in trouble, and if you go in on the website, they're PLA members and so forth, and I don't want to mention their names. After, I'll show you the
No,
articles.
there's
So I'm only interested in the making sure that, let's say we do electrical and it's $12 million, okay? We get one contractor and he bids 20 million. I'm just making up, what do we do?
Well, I know what I would do. I would put it back out I would go back out to bid for more union contracts, that's like saying, what if we get,
I'm just worried that we only get one
Okay,
contract. That's it.
let's revisit the issue.
anything's
So
possible.
as I understand this, it's Joe, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. And the proposal was that you'd have a blended approach, and
No.
yes, there was
That's
a
what we talked
discussion of
about.
a
That's what our
blended
approach
approach.
was.
That's our
That was our approach. That was not
Right,
his.
and the union's not interested in that.
Oh, yes, correct.
Is that correct?
Yeah, a project member agreement encompasses all the signatories.
Why can't there be an exception? Are you just not willing to do that?
No, once again, I represent, in the building trades, I represent all the trades. So for me, this is called a project labor agreement to make the guarantees, to do the career fairs and put the residents. All the guarantees I offered you, we couldn't do them unless it was 100% job, because we can't control the narrative unless we're up here, the unions are up here in full, recruiting people, taking people in, putting residents on the job. If it's a 60-40, everything we offered, we have no control over that.
I don't understand that response.
Can I
Well, the whole
something?
Hold on.
The ONG was at the last meeting. They said it's never happened. I mean, things have not been really discussed fully and vetted fully. You were at the last meeting though. We asked that question. ONG said it's never been done.
That's true.
I would just like to
It was
clarify
our
something.
request.
The union
for
will
them to do
hire
that.
Oh, I understand.
non-union
They don't do
people.
No, I understand.
Okay.
Oh, no,
Right? They
I
will
understand.
hire people who are not members of the union. Did I
If they wanna join.
misunderstand that?
If a guy from an open shop wants to join the union to work on this job,
Oh, we organize all the time. I mean, quite
So,
frankly,
so if somebody's
even,
non-union and they want to work on this job, they can go and apply to the
the
union to
union,
work
yeah,
on the job.
yeah,
Because that's
yeah.
where, isn't that where part of the 25% goes to, that we would hire people who are not in the union to come in?
well, A would be recruitment and B would be organizing, correct.
Right.
We do it in Hartford all the time. Matter of fact, I mean, a lot of times in Hartford, 30% resident requirements. We've been doing schools for 22 years in Hartford.
Because in my pea-sized brain, it's like if somebody is not union and they want to come in and work for the job and they become union, actually, they're improving their own personal status by having the benefits and having the ability to work on the
And
job.
we organize every day. We organize unrepresented workers every day.
Right. So we're not really shutting out workers who really want to work on the job if they want to join the union, so they can do that.
Exactly.
Just a question on the blended. Are you aware of any other government project that has used a blended approach on the PLA?
For one single job, no.
So you are aware, but they're not were there a packet of jobs, like City of Waterbury has 7 schools or something along those
City
lines?
of Hartford, we've been doing 4 or 5 schools a year for the last 20 years. The agreement with the City of Hartford, it's an 85-15 approach, and it includes the Hartford-based minority contractors.
85-15, what do you mean by that?
So it's 85% is in the project labor is union, and 15% is specifically for Hartford-based minority contractors. Nobody from outside of Hartford. So it's a.
So
it's
the
a
contract says Hartford-based minority
They have to be
contractors.
certified through the City of Hartford, and so it's a process.
Yeah,
So
it's a
kind
different
of- So it
process.
was more of a, the city at the time wanted
Yeah,
to
I
make sure they encompassed their minority contractors and the trade together, but we've been doing it for 20 years.
Anybody else other than Hartford?
Not that I'm aware of on that level. You know,
Probably
I
because of
don't
the
know,
size.
in Bridgeport, they have a program there where they do PLAs. I don't know the percentages in Bridgeport.
Do you know?
Have you broken out certain things in the PLA? Because I know you have in New Britain and otherwhere, you pulled out communications, you pulled out security, you pulled out AV and so forth.
No, well, yes and no.
Well, yeah, you have. I have the contract. So you pulled
Well,
out
I don't,
those
if
things.
you have an old one from New Britain, where if there was the low voltage yet, I don't know I don't know which one it was. I mean, we're negotiating a project labor agreement for Chamberlain School right now in New Britain, and everything's included in the PLA. So once again, and I'll be honest with you, I don't want to sound like we're trying not to, work with you, but we represent, there's 15 trades here. And for our proposals to carve people out and to carve packages out or trades out, I can't have a trade come up to do a career fair if they're not on the job. I mean, it's not, you know what I mean? Why would, I'm an iron worker, right? So I ran the iron workers for years. So if the iron working was not, in this package and you wanted to put it outside that blended, why would I come up here, recruit people, take people in and give back when I'm not included on the job? I mean, it's just,
no, I
But if
understand.
it's a package more than it is.
Well, we would have the ability to bring in a trade that was not accepted out or not.
Yeah, you would pick the
Non-PLA.
PLA
Yeah.
ones.
I
Yeah.
mean, I can
PLA
say
one.
this is, as far as if there's 125,000 man hours, you're gonna regenerate $5 million within the community right there. Right? And as far as the goals go, quite honestly, we have to legally, we can only put goals in. That's a legal issue. That's a legal issue. We can't put anything other than goals in the contract. So, I mean,
I
we're not
understand
trying,
that.
we're not
I'd
trying
ask
to
that
water that
question.
down, but on the other hand, I will say the highest percentage we've seen without a project labor agreement on a school project is Bristol. And Bristol, as you know, has a lot of blue collar tradespeople in it. That was 13%. The average without residents working on the project The average you'll probably see up here would be 6 or 7% by default residents. So if you extrapolate those numbers compared to the 5 million, that's about $875,000 being regenerated back into your community. With the project labor agreement with the 25%, you're bringing $5 million back into your community right at the back on the projects, let alone, the recruitments that we're going to continue to do.
What do we?
Fiona has a
Fiona's got
question.
something?
I just have a question, a clarification question. So over the last 4 years, I've went to, I think, almost every new school that's been built in multiple states, and I've talked to building committee members. And the general consensus that I've gotten from everyone I've spoken to is at the end of the day, the union will end up doing the bulk of the work. But in the absence of a PLA, what happens is you don't get any of the benefits of the PLA, but that there isn't a cost difference and that they're going to end up doing the bulk of the work. Does anyone think that that is not the case?
No, I mean, the job's gonna be 159 million bucks. Open shop PLA, doesn't matter.
Right.
Right? The PLA is offering us a 10-year commitment on apprenticeships. ABC is offering us, we'll tutor a couple of your teachers, and that teacher will retire, and then nobody will be tutored, and then they'll.
Plus, if you've got
The
15
PLA
trades, you've got 15 opportunities for kids to
Yes,
learn about
the
different
PLA
trades
package, as
and not
far
just
as
single them out.
As far as the students go, which is my real concern, I know the job's gonna get done one way or another. The PLA has a much greater offering to us.
Well, the other thing
My
that
concern
we
is
have to
that-
remember here is that there's nothing, correct me if I'm wrong, but the PLA, non-union contractors can still bid, right? Right, Joe?
Yes.
But only if they
won't.
agree to,
Well, they have to agree
if
to
they
it.
agree
By
to.
law, they have to.
Union
Right.
But
But
benefits.
I'll say
No,
one
they're
thing.
But they have to give that
They have to give it
anyways.
anyway. That's the whole point.
No, that prevailing wage is not the same thing. That's my understanding. Everybody has to comply with the
Prevailing
prevailing
wage.
Well,
wage.
it's not just the wage.
But
though.
the
That's
union,
false.
if it's a PLA, they have to have all the additional benefits that a union shop also requires, correct?
No.
No,
they
no,
just
no.
have to.
Wage,
It's only
the
prevailing wage.
packages, we got a
Packages
bill
are
that's gonna pass pretty soon, hopefully, but the union wage is the prevailing wage in the state of Connecticut. It's based on a number.
They can
So-
choose
so
to
what
give
are
it
the
to
arguments?
pay or
It-
I
benefit.
know,
it's
I'm
not
asking you
that-
to advocate or to explain the non-union's position. What they claimed was that if you have a PLA, non-union companies will not bid because it would cost them more money.
That's completely false, because this is what I do for work, so I know
That's
100% that is 100%
That's what they had claimed in
completely
their
false.
submissions.
It's the Davis-Bacon Act. There's a certain amount. The employer can choose whether they want to give it to the employees in compensation or benefits, but it's the same top dollar amount. They're not paying any additional.
So is there any disincentive for a non-union company to bid
There's-
on a project with a PLA?
I can
You
tell you
may
what the
know.
disincentive is. If they agree to that agreement, they can't cheat.
No, we're not talking about that. I'm
But
talking
man-
about
No, I'm
a
talking about
business. I'm not
non-PLA.
talking about cheating, 'cause
That's
Man-
that's all speculative. I'm talking
manpower.
about just dollars and cents.
Yeah.
Is there,
Yes, they
Manpower is
can't
my-
make
was
any
my
money.
First thought, that and trying to stick to that amount of money if there is some kind of unexpected thing that happens along the way, whereas, what's the level of commitment for each one, so. manpower
Look at
seems
if you're
to be-
if you're a lawyer and you have a law firm and you're going to the biggest case of your life and you're not staffed well enough, and you have to guarantee an outcome and a completion time. Are you going to trust a young lawyer out of college to be on your team to make your argument or to get that work done? Or are you going to rely on a partner who's experienced and has been trained? It's the same thing. You say it's not cheating. They cheat. The best electrician in the state is in jail. They cheat, and Mario will tell you it happens all the time. You hire subs.
It's a circus.
It's
On
a
big
circus.
job. If it's a smaller job, different story.
And it's not against the non-union guys. They're not built to build these kinds of jobs. You have to
So-
have an infrastructure in place to support all of those costs that go along with these things. They
so as
just
far
don't
as
have
the
it.
argument that the non-PLA
Yeah.
group proposed, as far as there's going to be only a few, if any, non-union companies bidding on a PLA project because the cost of doing business is going to be that much higher for that non-union company. That's a false claim, is it?
That's-
Yeah, okay.
I'm
No,
going to ask
Fiona.
that question because I don't think that is correct. Did you say?
No, he didn't. It was the
No,
non-PLA
No,
people.
but I think he
Okay.
said two, okay? So if they have to put in, if a ABC company wants to be a union company, okay? Don't they have to put in extra benefits for that person?
No, so I'll explain this. So this, and unfortunately,
They claim.
I'm not here
He's
to
a
bash my comment.
No, no, I know.
He's a lot.
But he said a lot of things that he said are misleading, and I'll tell you the truth. I mean, so
Fiona's a
this is-
pension
this is-
consultant. She can also answer.
And the project labor agreements, what we do, they can bring in key men, so there's key men provision. The non-union guy gets the job, a company gets a job, he can bring in 20 to 25% key men. So those are his company guys that aren't coming from the union, right?
Okay.
So remember, just quickly, so you got 25 there, and then you got the 25 for the resident. So when they say that, it's a big strain, it's not, because only half of the rest of the people are really coming from the higher level, right? Because you still have the resident requirements.
Right.
So what
Well, they're not requirements, they're goals.
we call them requirements, but
Such a lawyer.
language-wise.
It's made very clear that
Yes,
it's a
yes,
goal.
yes, yes.
I'll say this, in
Hire the
Hartford, we've been
lawyers.
doing it for 22 years, and we've never been below 30%, and it's stated as a goal there. So
Did you
that's
did you say that it was, you would expect 6 or 7% from Torrington?
Without a PLA, that's what you'll do.
Okay.
So I'll go back to the thing with a non-signatory. Non-signatories do work on PLAs. I'm not saying there's a ton of them. And this job, you probably have 4 or 5 bidding, we typically do. So when you have the fringe benefit package, that's in the past, that's the sticking point with the open job. So you got the health benefit, the annuity, we have a health benefit, an annuity, and a pension. Until a few years ago, you'd pay into all those funds for your key employees. The health benefit, it's 3 months, you'll get health benefits from the local union, you'll have top of the line benefits for their employees. The annuity is a 401k, the annuity is transferable, that's money, they can do whatever they want with it. The sticking point was the pension contribution. On the pension contribution, you have to be vested for 5 years under ERISA and on these plans. They were losing that benefit, and so we corrected it. All the pension contributions going forward are going to be put into the 401k. So say your pension contribution is $15 an hour and your annuity is $10 an hour, you will get $25 an hour in your annuity, which there's less, you could roll that over, do what you want in 6 months. So
One of the
it's a little
claims that
cap.
they have said, well, they're gonna be double taxed, I don't want to say tax is the wrong word, but they claim that they would have to have their
Both
treasury
benefits.
requirements, which would be presumably the
Which-
401k, and if they were a non-union, but on a union project, they would also have to pay into the pension fund. So you're saying that's not accurate?
That's
No,
not it.
because what-
That goes $25, in your example, goes into the annuity, the 401k.
Exactly, and just so you know, in the construction industry, this is where it's a little misleading with everyone, nobody pay, like if you work at the Aetna, your benefit package is your benefit package for the year. In the construction industry, everything's based on man hours. They're not covering employees that aren't working for them. So as they bid those jobs, those benefits are being contributed as they're working in the construction industry. It's very misleading.
understand.
He's misleading you because if you're combining different industries, you would say, oh, geez, it's not right. A non-union electrical company is not paying on a guy who's laid off on his benefits. They're paying his benefits as he goes. So if they did bid the job and they came on, it's no sweat on them because they're already paying they're just restructuring where they're paying the benefits, right? One of the problems why they won't want to bid him is, and I was mentioning earlier, that is the cheating is rampant, and the cheating will be done on this job, and it won't be recouped for a year later because there's 2 people at the Department of Labor, monitoring these projects.
Right.
And the second problem is, I'll be honest with you, is once their key men work under the union, they have better conditions and their healthcare and their benefits, they lose them to the union. And because the people want to better themselves. It's the complete opposite. And I don't want to argue with, listen.
No,
you
the
did a great job.
clarification is very helpful because we were led to believe clearly
Yes, we
that
were.
Yeah, and that's not, and he represents a contractors association. I represent people, right? So, there's a big difference. There really is.
And I don't want to say that, but that guy was a lawyer.
he claimed when he
He said
said
it wasn't.
that, he jumped out of his chair.
He's a
Said,
lawyer.
It wasn't.
He said, no, I'm not.
Andrew went afterwards,
did.
said, congratulations, I heard you passed the bar.
Oh.
He's a lawyer.
Hey, Joe, can I just ask
Maybe
you one
like
more question?
one
Maybe,
I know.
maybe you know the answer
No,
to
I
this,
know, I
maybe you
was joking
don't.
with Pat.
I know.
Go ahead, Case, go ahead.
Oh, hold on, I want to quiet down first.
Right.
So when we are talking about the goal of 25% coming from Torrington do we know, and I have no idea how many people are going to be needed for each trade, but do we know the breakdown of union people by trade in that $200, $200,
$200.
count, that 200 number count?
We do. We have a general idea. It's based on, so we get the numbers from the AFL-CIO, and it breaks down per trade and per local, but it's hard, like, we have 2 Danbury iron workers that live in New York, that live in Danbury, but they're out of they're out of the New York locals, right? So it's different, you know what I mean? So we have, like, there's 2 iron worker locals in Connecticut, one in New Haven, one in Hartford, and we have a couple iron workers in each local.
Sure.
But we have it by trade, but it's harder to extrapolate it out, you know.
Let me ask a question this way then. Do we know, you guys probably know, I have no idea how many tradespeople are going to need on this job, but what, if we hired all 200 of those people, what percent of the workers would that be? Do we have any idea? I mean,
You want to know if that
would that get us
percentage
to the
equals 25%? I
25%?
don't think we're going to get 25% no matter what we do on this job.
Correct.
I mean, it's just.
no, we may not, but
I don't
I'm
think
just
it's
curious as to
realistic.
what number that would be.
You know, whether it's,
Tell me why you don't think it's realistic. Give me your professional opinion, how it's not realistic.
I don't think that we're going to get 25% of the
But
labor
based on
pool.
what?
And- What's up?
Based on what?
There's not enough people here to do it. That's what you keep saying.
They're coming out of the union. See, you don't even understand what it is. The union hall has the staff already. The non-union doesn't.
I'm talking about the 25% that's going to come from Torrington.
But
That
that's
was
not
a
right.
stipulation within the agreement that we would
Up to
make
23.
up to, or make our best effort to get up to
Right.
25%.
Right.
So it just sounds like that's a unrealistic goal
But if
to
we can
have
get-
But on
anyways.
most school PLA projects, it is a high percentage, because you think about a
But they only
guy.
get like 13%.
But if
or
you get 13 or
14%.
15,
varies.
it's still
Right,
13 or
right, right,
15%.
but I mean, 25 is not realistic.
Well, that's my point. So I'm just saying, is
I
it
mean,
really an arbitrary number? Does it really matter? Are we trying to get into a box that we're never going to fill anyway?
You're saying it's a fact. It's not a fact. They've done it before.
I mean, can I say one thing?
That's
Just quickly,
absurd.
And I'll explain it with the resident thing. So
Why is what I said absurd? I've been.
Because it's not a fact.
I didn't say it
Guys,
was.
hold on, hold
You
on,
said
hold on,
You can
hold
be
on.
certain.
No, it's his.
Hold
opinion.
on,
You can
please.
be certain.
Go ahead,
All
Joe.
right, I'll just say this. So there's 2 parts to that.
Jesus Christ.
No swearing.
There's 2 parts to that. So what we're gonna do is if the job's gonna start next year, we're gonna come in and recruit 10 off the bat this summer. So we're gonna have 10 there. Next year, we're gonna come in and do that pre-apprentice program, that's 20. And I'll say that the magic, what works here with us, is when you get a crafts person that lives in town, I'll use the iron workers because I'm familiar with the iron workers.
Mhm.
So iron workers tie rebar, we do structural steel, miscellaneous metals, and we do windows and curtain wall and sashing glazing. That resident's gonna stay on that job because they're cross-trained in every facet of the work.
Mhm.
They're gonna stay on that job from start to finish.
Mhm.
So, contractor A is gonna use them, contractor B is gonna
Yep.
use them, contractor C is gonna, so that 25%, the good thing is that person that lives in Torrington stays up here for 2 years.
Why are
Oh,
they gonna
absolutely.
use them? Why? I mean, they could hire somebody else because there's no obligation on their part to hire 25% from Connecticut,
From Torrington?
from Torrington.
Torrington.
Well, we
ONG will call the hall.
dictate that because we have a project labor agreement. The
Right.
project labor agreement supersedes our collective bargaining agreements. So when the project labor agreement
I understand
supersedes our collective bargaining agreements, that gives us latitude to keep these folks up here with the contract.
But there's no guarantee they will be kept up there. It's no requirement that they be kept up there. When you say that he'll be kept on the job in a different capacity, right? Is that
Yeah.
basically
Well,
what
I'm
it
saying
is?
typically what happens.
Right, but there's no,
They
they could be hiring somebody from another city or town. There's
Yeah,
no
but we-
guarantee of that as
but
well.
we-
There's
one
nothing
of the
that
Well, there's
makes.
efficiencies
one of
and
the proposals
economies.
we made is we have the Foundation of Fair Contract, and it's a compliance wing or a sister organization with us. They do compliance on jobs. Basically, what they do is they chase the cheaters, right? To try to level the playing field. We offered, they're gonna do compliance up here to make sure that the goals are being met, and we're gonna have monthly meetings, and then we're gonna sit down with the construction manager and all the building trades reps and make sure that these numbers are gonna be met. Whether we recruit, whether we organize, numbers will be met, and it'll be monthly. We've done this with David Gargazola.
Craven's
Yeah.
Italian names are tough for me.
Get used to it.
He's a Finn. He's
Yeah,
Irish.
mine's easy.
But that's what we do, and then what happens is and we did it at Platt High School. I mean, we did it at Platt with ONG. So we have monthly meetings where we do the compliance, and if a contractor comes in, they're not all perfect, believe me, let me tell you that. And we come in and we hold their feet to the fire, and then the union makes sure that they go back to the agreement and we send the folks back over.
I think 25% is an estimate or a goal. I don't think it's like we have to do that, but I also
Right.
think if we
I'm
get.
just trying to understand
Oh,
why do
I
we have
totally-
25% if it sounds like that, it's just on whether
Yeah,
you go
it's-
one way or the other,
it's
it
not
sounds
a
like
re-
we're not gonna get
Yeah,
that.
we
And
don't
then I
have-
could be wrong, I don't know
And
how
I
many
don't think we have
people
to
are even
reach
gonna work
that.
in the job.
I don't
Yeah,
think we have
that's
to reach
exactly
that,
what I was
but
trying
as a
to
school
get.
teacher who works with high
Right, so
school
if, that means
kids.
250 people roughly would have to
Yeah.
be from the community,
But as
correct?
a school teacher who worked
Yeah.
with kids, especially
But it
high
depends on
school
what
boys all
time
the
of the job
time,
it is.
when they weren't
Of
going to college and we were in the
Be
rural
tradesmen in town.
country, how do they learn a trade?
Mhm.
So I know that there's a proportion of
huge job.
kids here in Torrington
Oh, gosh.
that would just, it would give them incentive
This
to
is a great
graduate.
opportunity
I know,
for
but it would
people
give them
to hire
incentives to
kids.
graduate.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got kids from single parent homes, you've got kids from.
Understood completely.
Yeah.
You know,
But if you-
minority
A lot of
homes.
minority kids.
And I was gonna
Resident.
say, if you give them a goal, they will work so hard for it. So I think if 25% is a wonderful picture.
Yeah.
But I think if we can get 13 or 15% and we get them out of the apprentice program through the high school or local residents for the
Mhm.
next couple of years, I think we've accomplished something.
Oh, yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that, I'm
Can-
just
can
trying to
we,
understand why do we have this
we've
25% and what it makes, like,
If we're all done, can we just make a vote? It's just a
Can
recommendation.
I
But
just
just
ask
one
one
thing, I
other
think Fiona had,
question?
she
Go ahead.
understands that she's trying to get some words in.
Well, no, I'm trying to, so as a PLA, if we were to go with the PLA, does the PLA unions, would it be out-of-state workers? Would it all be Connecticut workers?
No, it could be out-of-state workers.
I was with you.
No, the major, so what happens is the first place of hire is the hiring hall, and that's the local union, that's Connecticut workers.
There could be someone who wins a package from out-of-state, though.
Oh, yeah, but they're gonna
sure.
hire.
They're gonna hire
someone-
from Connecticut.
I would say, and if that happens, like hypothetically, if a out-of-state contractor gets the mechanical package, he might bring 2 of his own people in and he'll get 20
His lead guys.
local people. Yeah.
Local
What,
people,
Yeah.
right.
we have Ed's problem, which is one electrical contractor on a couple of these PLA jobs. What do we do then?
We'll have the coverage. I told that we'll have the coverage.
Yeah, but he comes in and bids 20 million on a $10 million.
Then we'll have to, obviously, O&G will sit him down and say, what the hell are you looking at?
Right.
Number one.
You
And
put it
number
back out
two,
to bid.
number two, if it's
But-
electrical, it's down the road a bit, that it would give us the opportunity to rebid it. You know what I mean?
I'll say one more thing.
We don't want that to
I'll
happen
leave
with
it
the
at
site
this.
work.
Is one of the things that Chris said last month should scare the pants off of everyone in this room. They want a 1-to-1 ratio journeyman to apprentice helper, right? And they're pushing that legislation like crazy for next year. That's our fight, and because they don't graduate the people. So you're talking about, and it was brought up here with people kind of wandering around. If that 1-to-1 ratio passes next year and your job's gonna be going, it's gonna be a complete disaster for you.
One's a-
Because you're gonna have a
Untrained.
journeyman
There's to be a bunch
with a
of green
helper.
people on
And
it.
how are you gonna
Experience
train
will
and
be
teach
diluted.
somebody?
It's
when you
not
have
required.
Exactly.
1-to-1. I mean, so you got 10 electricians
Uh,
and 5 of them,
Yeah.
believe me, they will be.
Okay.
Because they don't have to pay that top rate and they're used to cheating and paying that other rate. And they're gonna be wandering around aimlessly
Yeah,
and at the sake of them putting more money in their pockets. And they're gonna push that legislation next year. That would be the worst legislation that would, for anybody that puts on a pair of work, blue jeans in the morning. It's gonna absolutely erode the construction industry because it's not set up for them.
This is related, but not necessarily in your field of expertise. When O&G was here, they were talking about, there's an act that allows them, as
Right.
construction
It
manager,
starts
to hire,
July.
right. Is it going to be enacted or effective as of July
As of
1st?
July 1,
It is.
but they have to go to the state
Right, they have
to
to
get
get
approval.
permission. So that would, they have 112 or 13 local residents, I think. Okay, so that's
Yeah.
on the books and,
It
looks like-
it's, has to pass for July 1.
okay.
I think back
But
to
it
what I
hasn't
said
passed yet.
before, we had some work done by
It's
some
not
people
passed, it just isn't
who
effective
said
yet.
it was okay. So
It's
when
been
our
pushed back.
maintenance guy said, you know, this
Effective
isn't
date.
good, they said, it's okay, it's fine, it meets code. And then it didn't meet code, so then we had to pull in somebody else
Yeah.
that was gonna meet code, so it cost us twice for the
yeah,
job.
imagine that in a 300,000
You
square
know, and
foot
that's just
building.
little, that's
Well,
just
it's a new
renovating
building.
apartments, so
I think
it's.
it's less of a chance of a code issue.
Okay,
Oh.
Everybody?
They're growing over
you
there.
guys who are voting, you're all set?
Okay, well, before we do that, I just want to talk about what will happen after today when it's turned back to the city council.
Correct?
So what will your process be in the city council at this point? You're obviously going to hold a public meeting?
Yeah.
And so people have comments that can make
That's all
those
I got right
comments.
now.
Yeah, that's all we got.
I mean, that's all we got, right? I mean.
And,
Yeah.
Skip that.
and are you going to be doing any, has any of the material that we've had to research been turned over will be turned over to the city council, or how are you going to do?
Like
Other than
catch
this
them up to
meeting here
speed type
today,
of thing.
how are you
Yeah.
going, what are you going to base your decision on? If we vote that we think it should be PLA,
Mhm.
will that be the city council's decision, or
No,
it's still?
No,
a
the city
discussion?
council would make an independent
So-
decision. I mean, they,
So what exactly are we voting on
Just a
here today?
recommendation.
Recommendation.
So we're gonna make a recommendation
Yeah, the
that
subcommittee
carries no weight
formed
whatsoever.
of 3 building
Yeah.
committee members and 3 city council members have recommended that we do,
X, Y, and Z.
and this is why.
Yeah.
Right? And this is why, the apprentice program, let's just say the confidence level in the trades that are coming in, and the pricing pretty much being the same across the board because it's all the same wages. And it'll be up to these guys to say it. And I'm sure there's a public portion there, so there's gonna be a lot of people
There'll be a
speaking.
lot of people talking.
There's
Sure,
gonna be both sides.
sure. I
And
just
then
want,
these guys will put their hats together and make a decision.
But I mean, I hope the city council, I mean, when we got this approved by the town, it was a tough thing to get approved by the council. The mayor had to break the vote and break the tie, but it was thrown on the building committee's, shoulders to get the job done. It's your project, we were told.
Mhm.
It's your problem.
Yeah, I hope they listen to
And
our,
I would hope
right.
that after
Well,
all
we got,
that,
we got
listen
2
to the
of them
building
here that are
committee.
listening, so, and
Oh,
Ann
really?
was
Oh,
here
yeah,
as well.
me too.
And they may
I
not
thought you
always
were.
agree, but
We
They
still,
could-
we still like each other.
if
oh,
you're
no,
on,
absolutely.
if
Yeah,
you're
I
on
mean-
different sides of the
I mean, Ann's
coin,
not here. I mean,
Right.
but
I know.
you're
Yeah.
each gonna speak
We will-
in favor of or in favor of the open, whichever the case may be. And it's up to the city council to decide.
I would just hope that if the city council is not gonna take the recommendation of the subcommittee, whatever the recommendation is that you guys decide,
Mhm.
that then you would do your own presentation.
I would
So
imagine
from the
so,
Board
yeah.
of Ed standpoint, how we operate, if we
Exactly,
develop an
exactly.
ad
But
hoc
it's going to
committee,
depend as
we
well
take their
on the input
recommendation
from the
because they've
public.
done the
Well,
work.
the biggest,
The input from the public will count as well. I'm
the
sure.
greatest
Oh, yeah,
loss to the
absolutely.
community is gonna be that 10 years of apprenticeship.
And as a teacher,
Yeah, no,
that's
that's a
that's
very
a part
valuable
that
thing.
really,
It's
really
very
impacts
valuable.
me.
That 10 years will be a separate agreement.
Yeah.
It will not be in the PLA agreement because the PLA agreement only lasts to the end of the contract.
right.
This will be a separate contract,
Right.
that,
Absolutely.
just let you know.
Glad you pointed
And
that out.
and you know me,
Oh, I know
and
you.
you know me,
I know,
Okay.
and you will know me.
I'm getting to know you.
I've been doing this for 53 years.
Yeah.
And I checked all of the labor agreements that come through us. And I meet people, so.
Oh, I know you do.
I know, so this, whoever you do,
no, we're gonna do it right and they're gonna do it
Your
right.
building committee members are gonna, some of them are
And
gonna
not
be
for
just
nothing,
as focused.
I have to say Joe's been very accommodating where in my opinion, the ABC guy's been standoffish.
I wasn't
And-
getting enough from
And
him,
deceitful,
personally.
I think, is fair to say. But that's neither here nor there.
we want the best for the city and the best for the kids.
Go ahead.
Exactly.
And the best pricing.
Can I just ask one more question? Because I think there are some jobs on this project that the union doesn't have labor to do. And has it ever been done in a PLA where just say like landscaping is carved out? Or there are things that weren't necessarily union jobs, but local landscaping companies could bid on.
Like global.
This is more like the
Right.
hybrid kind of.
Right, like I don't want, I don't want an inexperienced person putting up the steel or doing the electrical or doing the plumbing,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
the landscaping, like how,
It's still a massive
Package.
package.
Landscaping packages are like $1 million, $1.2 million.
It's a
And
massive
Out
package.
there's the laborers, and they have, in the landscaping world, in the construction
big,
industry,
really?
there's 5 or 6 that are very competitive.
Like
So-
Mike
so
Mike
it's a
Zaharic,
big- It's a big industry.
Mike Zaharic did that walkway on Franklin Street.
Yeah.
And he's good.
Yeah,
He's
he's
an
good.
arborist
I use them.
and he did everything he could just to get that thing done.
Yeah.
This is, This is 30 acres.
Right.
Yeah,
No, I
I don't-
wasn't-
I don't-
Hydro
it's fine.
seeding, the,
I
you know,
brought
the
up landscaping
plantings they're
ones
gonna
too.
make us do, it's gonna be insane.
Yeah,
It's a
no,
big job.
just my ignorance. I
No,
didn't
no, no,
know.
no,
I was
it's,
just
I
gonna
understand.
say, are there?
There are no
unions
ignorant questions,
for
only the
landscapers?
ones
Yeah,
that
really?
I
ask.
don't know.
I don't
Some of
know.
these
That's
numbers
right.
blew
They're
me
not
away,
called
like the
landscape.
window treatments are like
Part
freaking
of the
1.2
site
million or
package.
something stupid.
What are they called?
It's
It's part of the
insane.
site contractor package, and they do, you know, they have
Site
their own
contractors?
operators, they have their own,
Okay.
you know, but
But
I thought too in the
yeah,
beginning about
whatever
landscaping.
you do, you go to PLA, what, there is gonna be, and I think you have to correct me, there's gonna be some contractors that have to be pulled out of this agreement.
Again,
because-
I don't have a problem with that, as long as we can get away with,
Yeah.
you know, you guys.
Contractors or areas?
Areas, I'm sorry,
No,
area
okay.
packages that are gonna be pulled out because union members may not, PLA companies may not do that.
So what do you do about that, Joe? Like, how do you deal with,
I'll be honest with you, other than stuff at nuclear power stations, there's not a specialty item in the school
how about low
that
voltage?
we don't do day in and day out.
Yeah, they do low voltage packages.
All
Yeah,
right, all right.
I mean, the low volt, I mean, like I'm, you know, we're up in Wyndham, we're up in Wyndham actually with a career fair on Saturday, but there's nothing in a school that is a specialty package, I'll be honest with you. I mean, the low voltage, the communications, usually they put them together, they have a ton of contractors that bid that. Sometimes they bulk that together with the big electrical package, but as far as the school, you know, sometimes if you have solar panels, you know, we had an issue with Wyndham, I think, we had an exclusion at Wyndham High School, we just excluded was the surface of the track. We don't have, I mean, if we don't have it, we're not gonna try to, why would we do it, you know what I mean?
Right.
So, you know, we exclude it, you know what I mean? But the prep work to do the surface for the track, you know, we do all, that's all work that we do every day, day in and day out. But if it's any type of specialty and we can sit down with O&G, by all means, if we can't fulfill it, why would we?
How about a
put it
turf
in?
field, Joe, if we're lucky enough to get that far?
The turf fields are in, they have 3 or 4 contractors that do the turf field.
Just, why wouldn't there be more electrical contractors bidding on the packages that?
Size?
I think there will be.
It's just the
This
size.
size, I think they will.
I think they will.
And other obligations.
Yeah.
Well,
As
they already
as we
have.
speak right now,
Yeah, their obligations.
the Chamberlain School's bidding, as I mentioned, and Wyndham's bidding, and we have 4 on the electrical side. We have 4.
They're a new school or renovation?
It's a renovation.
The renovation, yeah.
Renovation.
Wyndham's a renovation as new and Chamberlain's a renovation.
New school is different than a renovation,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all gonna work.
yes.
Yeah.
Actually, the new school, on the new construction, you're gonna have more bidders than on a renovation. Renovations are tough because a lot of times they hold up the guys' bonds, and a lot of contractors don't wanna bid phase projects because
It's a
it takes
super-
away from their bonding to look at other work.
But it's also not just schools that they're looking at, the unions will be looking at
Oh,
other,
yeah,
other
anyone, yeah,
construction, so other obligations might prevent them from bidding on a job.
Oh, yeah.
Even a lot of the non-union shops, I think they can't put their whole workforce on a
Well, that's it.
job
It would
for
be-
a year, so that's how you
And
end
it's
up
the
with that
training, you know, that's the
subcontractor
thing that really
smorgasbord.
jumped
Yeah,
at
I'm
me.
worried about
do.
the training.
But, and also the boys, because we didn't have, just like here, the shop program started to disassemble. And we could have kids go 40 miles away
Right.
in the afternoons to a training program, and some of the kids had jobs after school, and they didn't want to do that. So I worked a deal with our home economics, which is now family consumer science, and got boys doing work there, and 2 of them went off to Culinary Institute and are now chefs. So,
Nice.
you know, you have to find those career pathways for kids.
Mhm.
And I just think, you know, our school has had a bad rap for a long time, and I've talked to realtors, and I'm on the Regional Economic Development Board, and they say one of the things they are starting to promote is this wonderful new school that's coming. And so we want to provide the best we can for all kids in Torrington. So that's where I'm standing.
That's what
Okay.
you want to put
We
my house on
good?
the market.
Case, you good? Patty, you good?
I'm good.
Gary, you good?
You good?
Gary's good, so far.
Dave, you okay?
Yep.
All right,
Gary will let you know if he's not.
Yeah.
And Ed will let us know too.
go ahead, Ed. Call for a vote.
Okay, David, PLA or ABC? You wanna wait?
Want a coin?
No, well, I'm more conflicted now than I was before.
And it's important.
I know it's important, and I'm trying to, obviously, we all want to do what's best for this community, the kids and everybody who are involved in the project. You know, I'm gonna say no PLA. Just because I want more people involved in this process and not just limiting it through the unions. That's all I got.
Sharon,
Yes.
Pat,
In light of the new information and clarification, certainly the rebuttal arguments as to some of the costs associated with a non-PLA or a non-union bidding on a PLA, yes to a PLA.
Spoken like an attorney.
Well, I mean, when they submit a package,
Sustained.
Yeah.
Casey,
Overruled.
All right, based on what I believe from everything I've heard, what gives us the best shot at getting it done on time, on budget, getting the most local people hired, and getting the most for the students with apprenticeships, I vote yes for PLA.
Gary,
More or less the same, but knowing the size and scope of this job, this isn't about, whether PLA can do it or not do it. We know in Connecticut, we don't have the resources, but for Torrington, getting a job that's on budget, on time, and quality work, PLA offers, that far more certainty than the non-PLA. And again, I'm a non-union contractor.
So you said you were a non-union contractor?
yeah, that's it, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's 4.
2, 3,
That's
4.
five.
Or 5.
No, 4, 2, 1. I mean.
4 to 1.
Well, I mean, if it helps at all, just so that we, I'll change my vote so that
we
we,
recommend, yeah.
just so it's a
That
more.
That probably would be
Well,
helpful.
Dave, I'm glad you're saying that because it would put you in a tough position to change your mind later.
I know, I
Right.
know. So, yeah, I'll support it.
All right. That's
Thank
great.
This was helpful.
Yes.
Especially
Yeah,
having
great.
you here,
And
and your level of clarification changed my mind.
Yeah.
So
And please keep in mind the opportunities for the kids too.
honestly, that's one of the most
Wicked.
important things and that's why I'm
I
reticent about
understand.
voting
I understand.
against it, but I'll change,
Sorry,
so that way
I'm
we're
sorry I
uniform.
jumped on you, but I get emotional about this one issue because I've seen it happen so many times.
Just one issue?
You know what? We appreciate your passion.
I might not be pushing so hard for a $50
But
million
we
job.
mostly
PLA.
appreciate your
No,
passion.
no, it would be a different story if it was a
Yes.
50.
We
Yeah.
recognize your passion.
All right,
Yeah.
can I say one thing?
Right, Ellen.
Before we go, I wanna say one quick thing.
Go ahead.
I applaud everybody here. I've never, and even if you guys voted no, I was gonna say this to you. I've never seen a community advocate for their citizens across the board like I have here in Torrington.
Remember,
And I've been all over the state of Connecticut, believe me. From A to Z, everybody's interested in the residents and in the children.
It's the
And
children.
benefiting. I mean,
Children are number
Yeah.
one.
We're up in Wyndham and we're doing the same. Wyndham is a very similar community to you guys, very similar. And, with the career fair we have coming, I mean, they're like falling down in front of us with the career fair. I mean, I'm not, we need to do work as much as they need us. But the partnership, I think, in these communities to help people get to that next step and provide careers is important. And
Well, and the
everybody I
thing-
met in Torrington is advocating, everybody, and
We
Ed all the way down. I mean, Ed's been all over me. And I applaud you for what you guys are doing for the residents, because a lot of people just think the construction is part of it, and then it comes and goes and it's done.
Mm.
It's the legacy you leave after, and the people that you pick up and you support going forward. And you guys, everyone here, even the people that voted no, even the people that are against, and we're gonna face it, we know that with the council, but they still advocate for the residents. And
But I think
applaud everybody.
21st century, we need to take care of our kids because they've got a messed up world. That
Well,
past
you should be
generations.
able
More
have
young
done.
people in trades too.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
We
Everyone's
have-
going to college and no
Exactly.
one's,
No one's
no one's.
going
I
Yeah.
can't, I can't get a plumber to come to my
No,
house.
that's my
We
point.
have about 200 kids every year who will go out and just mow lawn. So,
Right.
so the apprenticeship program will pick up for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
That's a
Well,
very
kids should
valuable
drop
benefit.
out.
Yeah.
I think the dropout rate will decrease because kids will have an option after high school.
If my brother had not been in the union, he passed away a few years ago from lung cancer. If he had not had union insurance and benefits,
Mhm.
he never would have gotten through 2.5 years of, he wouldn't have had any benefits because you go from non-union guy to non-union guy to non-union guy. You don't have any benefits. And the benefits are $2,000, $1,500 a month for an individual. He spent, I think, $150 a month on his benefits. They paid every penny.
Sorry for your loss.
No,
Ellen,
thank you.
I have a question. On the apprenticeship, you said like 12 to 15 students. What if there's like 20 or 30? Would you open it to more?
Yeah, so I guess on that pre-apprentice program that we're gonna do, what we do is, we're gonna have that open enrollment career fair. We'll have one, if it goes through, we'll have one in June and we'll take people in. That's a standalone program where we take 10 to 12, we'll have the career fair. we're gonna specialize it. We'll take 10 to 12, 12 to 14, depending on, the interest and how many folks come along.
Right.
We give them anywhere from 40 to 80 hours of like construction, OSHA 10, aerial lift training, silica awareness, scaffold user. We give them that type of training, so it's a pre-employment apprentice program. Then we slot them into different apprentice programs and we put them right on the job. So that's one step further than the career fair.
Right.
And we kind of limit the numbers because it's hard if you get 20, and we know we train our own, apprentices. 20s, it's just hard to train that many at one, especially when you're all brand new people. And if it works that year and the second year the school's still going, we can do that same type of program. So it's in addition to the career fair. So we'll have the career fair. If John Smith goes up to the iron workers and they say, hey, listen, I'd love to be an iron worker, then they take them. They don't have to be part of that specialty program.
Okay, gotcha.
They can still come on the job. That's an added.
And you'll be there 3 times a year otherwise.
We're gonna have our apprentice people up there within the schools.
So they'll be introduced to the prospect
Exactly
of of many choices.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the important thing, is those choices.
Yeah, that's just I think the part of it is, I think it helps the kids that come from the disadvantaged families, we don't have the vehicles, and if you have, and I know I face this in Wyndham also, with Wyndham Tech being there. Wyndham wants the Wyndham kids there because the Wyndham kids are disadvantaged, and they're almost like a step behind Wyndham Tech, right? So in Wyndham, we work with NAACP up there. They're very interested because what we can do is we can put those folks, once we take them in on the job, they don't have to worry about transportation right away.
Right.
They're working in town. And within time, we run money management, we're doing a money management thing up in Wyndham, because you go from $12 an hour to 25, believe me, I did it. I mean, as a young kid, I came from, a disadvantaged upbringing. And I made $42,000 my first year as an iron worker. I was 19 years old. I had $36 in the bank.
So we're happy to have it.
I've been sober for 26 years. But what happens is, I think those programs are really, and it's near and dear to my heart, because I like to make sure we can help some of these folks that come from single parent households. We could get them into the business, give them an opportunity, and then they could get the car. They could get the car insurance. So, you know what I mean? And so those are the important ones. We don't need the greatest kid in the world to come in. We can put them, enroll them anywhere. You know what I mean? It's more of a specialty program for the folks that need it.
And that's an asset, because I've been working until the COVID, the financial reality fair at the high school every year as a volunteer. And our job is to upsell these kids on furniture, clothing, entertainment, technology, transportation. And I can't tell you how many kids will come to me and want the Goodwill furniture, and they want, a Maserati for a car, and they're gonna go out and work in construction, or they're gonna work as the telephone repairman, and it's like, well, you can't afford this. And then when they go to the consultant and they come back to you and they say, I have to renegotiate. And I said, you better renegotiate your car loan. And they'll say, oh, but I don't want to give up the Maserati. And I said, when you're 17, you need a pickup truck to move your stuff. You don't need a Maserati, right?
Yeah.
Money management's important.
But it's so important. It's such an important asset to that, especially if they've been living week to week at home. That money is like a gift. And now, boy, I can get these things. I can feed my family better. I can do more things. And
I was the mayor of Yukon at 19 years old. All my friends, when I grew up with the college, I went into the trades. And I was the mayor of Yukon Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. Didn't get me too far in life. I was broken. But back then, you don't know as a kid, you don't know any better.
You don't.
No, right.
No, and
Exactly.
boy, that money, that can burn a hole.
I just have one quick question of you though. When it comes to alcohol and drug intervention, does the union have a program? Because non-PLA, we don't. I mean, it's just, okay, you have a problem,
Yeah.
And my family, we've had experience with that. Including my brother, and he got sober. But I mean, as a union, are you working on that?
We have EAPs, yeah. And then also
What does that
we have, employee assistance program.
Employee assistance program. We had that in my school
Yeah.
district as well, and it made a difference. It
Yeah,
made a
we have
difference with
something in the
couple of
building
people.
trades also. We have a group of people where it's anonymous, where they're in different trades. They help different people out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have, there's a ladder type of thing where,
Okay.
you go around. So it's, listen, the opiates are a big problem. I mean, it's everywhere. It's
And alcohol.
And alcohol, big
Mhm.
time.
If I
Listen.
may, if I just might, because to that end, I guess I can just talk. the building trades started some programs that are really more
Sure. It's
intensive,
okay, thank you.
peer focused EAP type of drug programs, and now have expanded them to, my members work in retail and service industry, and they've been able to share
Oh,
what
okay.
they've
Wow.
started in their own programs kind of across the board. So they actually have done a lot, because he's joking, but when you start off young kids with making really good money, you want to make sure we're can't be naive to the issues we have in Torrington.
Our biggest problem is the guys in their thirties with when you're beat up and you have the elbow surgery and
I know,
you start
I
breaking
know.
down and they start, and you're gone. I mean, that's the biggest issue, I mean, right? I
Yeah,
mean, they
yeah,
get
that's
out
how they get hurt.
because we're always banged up. I mean,
So I just, two quick things. John Kisco has been on the Zoom
Oh.
as a non-member, just,
Hi, John.
Hi,
I
John.
forgot that's even
Yeah,
on.
John.
Sorry.
and then just, I want to thank the subcommittee.
Hi, everyone.
I think if we're gonna expect that people are gonna invest in our community, we have to be willing to also invest in our community. And I think having local people will make a difference to the people that are paying for this project. And I think the opportunities for the kids is amazing. A lot of these kids can't see past today, and we need to be able to show them what is out there. And so I appreciate you guys, all your time on this.
Well, Francis Zilniga in 2001, when I moved back, I've said this before, grabbed me, and because he was one of my mentors, he said, we need an apprenticeship program in Torrington. In order for this city to survive, we need, because we had gotten rid of them over the years for budgeting reasons, I'm sure. But he said Torrington, his company, of course, too, needs to develop a program because Torrington has great tradesmen that can benefit substantially from the apprenticeship and the union salaries.
Remember, it's 4 times a year, 12 to 15 kids each time.
I know,
4
it's-
times.
Eddie, it's,
So you're looking,
it's
It could make a real
crazy
difference.
good.
Yeah.
But
I
certainly
know.
make a
It's a lot of
difference in
kids.
their lives.
yes.
I said, it's your
So I'm
shots
gonna
on,
leave because
Eddie.
I have a city council budget
Do I have a
meeting
motion
at
to
5.
adjourn?
You
Guys,
have one tonight?
Dave and
Oh, I'm not
Sharon,
on.
No, budget.
Yeah,
how do we go about getting it on the agenda then?
just talk to Eleanor.
Yeah.
Eleanor,
have the mayor
you'll
put it
write
on
her
there
a little email ad
and
and
set
tell
up
her,
a public hearing.
Yeah.
when's the next,
I remember
we
the
already
public
missed it for
hearing
this
about-
month?
Yeah, we just,
Yeah, and we
well,
have
we
a
have one
pub-
coming.
we have a
in.
public
That was a-
hearing,
that was a
Gary.
fiasco.
David, we have
Yeah,
a
it was
public
that.
hearing on Monday night for the
Adjourned.
Kevin was-
ordinances.
Yes.
And then there'll be a
Internship
public
with the
hearing
planning
on
department.
budget.
He
I
was
don't know what that
environmental
date
science
is.
major.
Motion to adjourn,
Stuff
people.
backwards.
Yeah.
So moved.
Okay.
I have
Okay.